evening, everyone. I'm going to thank you for your patience. We had a closed session this evening that ran a little bit late, so I apologize for getting out here a little bit later than we had expected. We didn't finish our business, and we're going to have to go into closed session afterwards. We'll talk about that at the end. Anyway, I want to welcome everyone back to the beginning of the school year, and how fitting that we should begin with our student representative reports. Who don't have microphones? Thank you.
Good evening and welcome back. My name is Sonia Manloy and I'm a senior at West Windsor Plainsboro High School North. I'm currently serving as the student body vice president. The first 2 weeks of school have been very eventful and there's so much more to come. On the first day of school, staff and students were greeted by the student council cheering as they entered. Last Monday, Chromebooks were distributed to all 4 grade levels, now making the entire school reliant on Chromebooks for the first time. Last Thursday, the annual club fair took place, which consisted of 50-plus student-run clubs. Clubs begin kicking off this week with events and meetings.
Hi everyone, I hope you had a great summer. My name is Olivia Browndorf and I'm a senior at West Windsor Plainsboro High School North. I'm currently serving as the student body secretary and a peer leader. While the first few weeks are exciting, we are about to kick off the most exciting time of the year, homecoming. This year, our homecoming football game will take place on October 11th and the dance will be on the 12th. We have started preparations as last Friday our homecoming court was voted on and our decorations are starting to be completed. We hope it's a great weekend. Our fall sports are in full swing and kicking off their seasons with many wins all around. We are continuing to see athletes blossom as Luke Johnson won his first ever cross-country race last week, while also coming close to breaking the record. We are so excited for what the rest of our student athletes have in store for us this season. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Annabelle Sue. I'm also a senior, but at High School South, and I'm very excited to be one of the Board of Education representatives this school year. South is also off to a great start as we Pirates are becoming more accustomed to the new school year. Here's what's been going on the past 2 weeks. South had its first class rallies last Friday, and the senior trip and senior college planning night beginning at 6:30 and 7 p.m. respectively was held on Monday, September 16th in the new theater. There is also an upcoming student assembly on Wednesday, September 18th during the school day, which the 9th and 12th graders will attend. Matt Bellis will be speaking about the importance of positive support systems. Parents are also invited for the evening presentation, at High School South in the new theater at 7 p.m. on the same day. Finally, I'm proud to say that fall sports started on a winning note with field hockey winning its first games, boys soccer winning their first 3 out of 4 games, and girls soccer winning their first 2 out of 3 games. Cross country should also vie for the country championships in both boys and girls cross country, as well as the girls tennis team. Everything is going according to plan at South, and we look forward to having a great school year. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we're going to hear a presentation and get an update on the referendum and facility projects that are going on around the district. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our district architect, George Duthie.
So as George is loading his presentation, I'll improv a little bit. Meetings, at this point, he's going to talk about both the referendum as well as the work at Town Center and Maurice Hawk Elementary School. Those will be slides towards the end. What I would say is that at this time, the Hawk project, the renovation work that's occurred at Hawk this past summer is on time and completed. And so we were successfully able to open the renovated areas inside the building this summer, right in time for the opening of school. That included the parking lot, a music classroom, OT, PT space, as well as a new child study team suite, which is a renovation from the old main office. Renovated guidance counselor space, which is currently being used as a makeshift main office, as we are awaiting the completion of the addition. The addition should be completed, we hope, sometime in November. Notwithstanding some challenges we've had, most recent with a concern with one of the subcontractors needing to be removed from the job. So that was with respect to the mason. You might recall the rats of last year. The work of the mason has brought some challenges, and as a result, we do have a new mason that's now been assigned or approved by the general contractor and on site. With respect to Town Center, the Town Center project is underway and is set for completion in November. So then the Town Center job is tracked, was supposed to be completed by December. It will be substantially completed by the end of November, middle November, end of November, and we are on target for completion by December, as it was supposed to. And with that, I see the glint in Mr. Duthie's eyes as his presentation's up. So we're going to pass the baton over to Mr. Duthie, our district architect.
Sorry, everyone. So as Steve said, thank you. I'm George Duthie, principal architect with FEHG. All right. That's better. It's not a great night for technology. Anyway, just here to give you a brief overview and status report of the referendum projects, as well as the Maurice Hawk and Town Center projects towards the end of the presentation. You may recall we were here last time and spoke about the projects that we're going to start. And now, happy to say we've started some projects. So, fire alarm system replacement project well underway. 2 schools completed, Maurice Hawk and Town Center Elementary School. The existing portions of Town Center and Maurice Hawk are up and running right now. The new additions will come online as that work is completed. Village Elementary School, we're in the process now of procuring the fire alarm, doing the engineering for that. We expect to start that in October and complete it by the end of the year. Dutch Neck Elementary and Millstone will follow earlier next year. We're kind of going through these in a very deliberate manner so as we don't try to do too much work at once and bite off more than we can chew. And then Community High School South and Wyckoff will follow with the new construction projects that will be undertaken at those schools. Emergency generator project also has been awarded, was placed out to bid and awarded. The generators have been ordered, and we're doing generators at Thomas Grover, Community Village, and Millstone River schools. The generators have been ordered. They do have somewhat of a lead time, so we're expecting those to be in by the end of November or so. Again, a lot of demand for generators right now, so we are seeing longer lead times. Completion of the project, though, by the end of 2019, we still expect to finish. A lot of preliminary work has been done. If you've been around the schools, you'll see there's gas piping run, pads poured. So we're ready to, and inside, a lot of the electrical wiring work is completed. So when the generators get here, they can just be placed and started up, more or less. The High School South generator will be done when we do the High School South project. So Thomas Grover Middle School is almost ready to start. So we're going to be advertising for bids next couple of weeks, around October 1st. We're still finishing up some agency review things and some final coordination items. We expect to open bids around November 19th and award the project on November 19th at the board meeting. We're going to start construction realistically probably in the spring. There's a lot to do between the time the project gets awarded and the time the project starts. There's a lot of preparatory work and ordering of materials and so forth. And we expect to complete the project around the end of June of 2021. Thomas Grove, you may have seen this before. We've had this at other presentations, a 2-story addition connecting 2 of the pods of the building, 2-story pod and one of the 1-story pods of the building, right? So, Community Middle School, very exciting. This project, we are getting close to having this project ready to go out to bid. Again, same thing, November 4th. We expect about a month after Thomas Grover goes out to bid to put Community out to bid, award the project at the December 17th board meeting, start construction again in the spring of 2020. Again, a lot of things we can do to prepare. And because of the multi-phase nature of the work with the renovations, which we'll talk a little bit about, finish in December of 2022. So, brief overview of the schedule. As I said, we'll start in March. We'll complete the additions, we hope, by August 14th of 2021. We're going to start the first phase of renovations the summer of 2021. We're going to do the second phase of renovations in the summer of 2022. Some of the renovation projects will draw out a little bit longer. They'll take about 6 months to the end of the year. We plan to use the new additions at community as swing space when we're doing the renovation work. You may recall there was a lot of renovation impact at Community Middle School. December 30th of 2022, we hope to be done. Brief look at the site plan, expanded parking lot, expanded drop-off area. We've incorporated that into the project. So there'll be reconfigurations of the driveways, realignment of some things along Grover's Mill Road, entrances, turning lanes, and things like that. So quite a bit of site work here. There'll be an after-hours entrance for after-school activities, particularly athletics. And more space will be in the front of the building for drop-off, okay, in the morning. Morning drop-offs will be a larger queuing space. So some ball fields, there's going to be some work done to just kind of restore some of the ball fields behind the school, 4 fields, hopefully a 5th field, depending on how the budget goes. And again, Community Middle School, extensive amount of work. You could just see by the areas that are in color up there. You can see what's going on the bottom of the building or where the additions are going. So, second floor. So, other referendum projects. As you know, additions, renovations, also at High School South. That project's in design right now for bidding in March of 2020. Renovations and additions to High School North. We're doing the culinary lab there. We're putting a dance and fitness room addition onto High School North, complete August 2021, bid in fall of 2020. And of course, Wyckoff Elementary School additions, renovations, and also the HVAC improvements, bid in fall of 2020, and again complete in August of 2021. So, other projects, miscellaneous renovations at various schools, toilet rooms, secure vestibules, and the like. We're going to bid 2020, complete August 2020. Media center renovations, probably going to be split into 2 groups. Start January 2020, complete August 2020 for the first group, and then, of course, the following summer, the same thing. All right? So, big project, HVAC improvements at High School North and Millstone River. Basically, here's the schedule. It's broken out. We're going to advertise again around October 1st. Award at the same time we award Grover on November 19th. And then the project's broken down into chiller and boiler replacements because of the way those systems are sensitive to the seasons. And then 2 phases of work in the rooms carried over 2 summers, okay? So, as Dr. Outerhall gave everyone an update earlier, Maurice Hawk School, we did get back into the building, mostly completed with the renovation work. Teachers are in the rooms. They're great, by the way. Although the project's behind schedule, it is advancing now. We do have a new masonry subcontractor on the project, thankfully. We do expect to finish the project by mid to late November. But right now, we're doing things like flooring, finishes, ceiling tiles, things like that. That's what's going on. And just so you can see on the right-hand side, those are 2 of the renovated rooms. And if you've driven by the building on Clarksville Road, you've seen the elevation on the left there. Town Center is also well underway. Again, we've gotten into the renovated rooms. They're very, very nice. Furniture is going to be going into those rooms shortly. Progress on the new addition is very good right now. We are finishing off some of the rooms up on the top of the slide. You can see bathrooms on the left-hand side, typical classroom on the right-hand side. So that's where we are with Town Center, in good shape. And that's the update. There's your review of the new front of Community Middle School. Artist rendition, as they say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duthie. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Thanks again.
Thank you.
We have another presentation tonight. On our agenda, in Curriculum Committee and on our agenda tonight, we're going to be asked to vote on some changes in curriculum that were done. And so we're going to get a presentation now from Dr. Pamela Nathan to review some of the things that happened over the summer.
Good evening. I have the privilege of sharing the curriculum work tonight that happened over the summer and the documents that are up as part of our annual review process. So I'd like to start with a look at our strategic goals. All the work we do is always connected through those 3 goals. Tonight I'm going to share images, video, and talk about the curriculum work in order to provide you with that solid overview, as well as a nice highlight of those areas that we have worked in. I'm going to begin with goal 1, and I'm going to play a few minutes of this clip. And this is a TED Talk, and it really helps set the stage and provide some schema around what student voice is and what it means for our student-centered learning environments.
All right, leeward side, by the way, just want to correct. I live out on the west side in Y&I. West side's the best side. So, how's it going? I've always wanted to be a fantastic uncle. As the youngest of 3 brothers, with one brother who's 4 and another brother who's 8 years older than me, I always kind of figured I wasn't going to have kids first, or so I hoped. And when my first niece was born, I made sure to take every opportunity I could to do what I thought a fantastic uncle would do. Now, one such opportunity, I was on the back lanai at my parents' house, and I was sitting with one of my brothers, and my niece, Haley, who was 5 years old at this time, that's her, she came up to me, and she tapped me. She said, "Uncle Jojo," I'm Uncle Jojo. She said, "Uncle Jojo, would you please get me some juice?" And I thought to myself, like, of course I can get you some juice. I want to be a fantastic uncle. I'll get you all the juice in the world. I'll make it just rain juice upon you. Of course I'll get you some juice. So I stood up. And as I stood up, I felt a tap on my shoulder. And I looked, and it was my brother. And he said, "Hey, where are you going?" And I thought, well, I'm going to go be a fantastic uncle. I'm about to get my niece some juice. And he said, "Well, do you think she could do that for herself?" And I hadn't thought of that, so I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, "Well, really, what does it take to get juice?" And I said, well, I'd have to go inside, and I'd have to open the refrigerator, and I'd have to, pick up a packet of juice, and, unscrew the cap, and, give it to Haley. And he's like, "Okay. Now, do you think she's capable of doing that herself?" And I said, I want to believe in my niece. I want to be a fantastic uncle, so of course she could do that by herself. And he looked at me and he said, "Well, then why would you take that experience away from her? And why would you make her depend on you to get juice?" And I had not thought of it like that. And as an educator, I've found that sometimes in my drive to do what I think a fantastic educator would do and do as much as I can, sometimes I've taken away meaningful experiences from my students. Because sometimes what we do for others is a tacit statement of what we believe they can't do for themselves.
So just take a moment, and if there's somebody near you, turn and talk. Just share what resonated with you with that partner. So thank you for making those connections and sharing them. And you'd find from this clip, as a parent, as an educator, you can probably share a lot of your thinking because we found ourselves in these situations. An important aspect of the goals of the documents that are being approved tonight or are up for approval tonight is that we create a framework where our teachers and our students can create learning experiences because we know the value of those experiences are what are memorable and are what build those skill sets. So I love this example because it really truly resonates with everyone who sees it in helping us remember the value of those student-centered learning environments. So our documents and the presentation tonight truly is the intersection of the strategic goals with our learning objectives. So on the screen, you see a large list of information, and it's all of our curriculum documents, it's all of our professional development sessions that happened over the summer. And these are important because we do a lot of unpacking when it comes to state standards in order to make those learning experiences accessible to our teachers and to our students.
Hi.
Hi.
I was marooned on an island for 5 years with this package, and I swore that I would deliver it to you because I work for FedEx.
That's very admirable. Thank you.
Hey, but by the way, what's in the package?
Nothing really. Just a satellite phone, GPS locator, fishing rod, water purifier, and some seeds. Just silly stuff. Thank you again. You keep up the good work.
So as I mentioned, we unpack the standards. There's no box left unopened when we do our curriculum work. Through the enduring understandings, the framework for lesson planning, we also ensure that we are having quality and compliant documents. Here's an example of our math documents, and our K-5 documents follow this template along with all of our curriculum documents. And highlighted here, you can see the different areas that help frame out the work. Summary of the unit, standards addressed, 21st century life and careers, technology standards, essential questions and enduring understandings, and resources are all laid out for each unit in each one of the grade levels. In math this year, some highlights. All 6 curriculum documents were updated to include relevant New Jersey student learning standards for 21st century life and careers, and the New Jersey student learning standards for technology. Interdisciplinary connections were made to selected New Jersey student learning standards for English language arts for each grade level. Changes were also made to the New Jersey student learning standards to ensure that we have replaced Common Core language in all of our math kindergarten through 5th grade documents. Resources were added to include additional materials that teachers can use within their math workshops. Math workshop is an instructional approach that, again, helps us connect our curriculum and instruction with our strategic goals. Through that process, through that approach, we're ensuring equity, voice and choice for our students, small group instruction in order to meet all of our students' needs. They're truly student-centered environments that empower and build social emotional learning every day by design. Looking at our math for our middle school and high school, quality and compliance are always hand in hand in our documents. These documents contained updates with interdisciplinary connections, the integration of 21st century skills, integration of technology and career education, and our middle school math and high school documents include Math 6, Math 7, Math 7 Honors, Pre-Algebra, Algebra 1 H&A, Advanced Algebra, Pre-Calculus Honors, and AP Statistics, as you'll see on the agenda tonight. We had special education focused documents as well. This is the start of a 5-year cycle to write curricula for all of our classes in our MD and autism programs at the middle and high school levels. Courses are following state guidelines for transition and other requirements, such as the New Jersey Student Learning Standards. Job skills was revised after 2 courses have each run for 1 year, so job skills A and B. The MD Autism and community-based instruction was built after professional development from our math supervisor with a focus on our understanding by design, our UBD documents. You'll see AP History on the list as well. These documents were revised in accordance with College Board revisions for AP US History course. The new curriculum follows the revised units of study, all summary and rationale, essential questions, essential enduring understandings, and learning objectives in our curriculum documents match those articulated by College Board. We aligned state standards to College Board expectations and provided evidence of learning and resources suggesting alignment, resources which align with our WWP instructional and assessment practices. Full implementation of our New Jersey Student Learning Standards for Science and the Next Gen Science Standards are built in and aligned in our science documents, kindergarten through 5th grade. Phase 1 documents were updated to more clearly update the connections with social studies, math, language arts, 21st century competencies, and technology. Resources in support of science inquiry as designed day-to-day by our teachers are comprehensive and designed to support students at every level of instruction. All of this work is based and incorporates the performance expectation standards for elementary science education as outlined in the New Jersey Department of Ed's Model Science Curriculum. The science curriculums will look the most different as far as a template because they incorporate what you see on the screen, which is the 3 areas of the science standards. So they have a degree of complexity that includes engineering practices, core disciplinary content, and cross-cutting skills. Our career and technology-focused classes are represented on the screen. Documents were updated to reflect best practices and career readiness. Documents were written with intentionality towards interdisciplinary connections. Focused learning progressions on problem-based experiences that allow for an increased interaction with materials. There's a new course, Digital Communications, and this course was designed to address the current trends in social media to inform students about the positive and negative use of available technologies. Media Center Library Makerspace, as we saw in the architect's presentation, we had a program review, and these were the previous decisions from that, so kind of a recap of what has already been decided, and that's the space will serve informational literacy and research skills, maker spaces. It'll be a place for next-gen science standards, technology standards, engineering and design, and especially focused on those 4 C's, sometimes called soft, I think essential skills, critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. Here's a quick clip that illustrates an elementary makerspace, just to give some more context to what those spaces may look and feel like.
A makerspace is an opportunity for students to work in a collaborative environment where they make, design, create to solve real-world problems through student voice and choice. Within our makerspaces, we also have the kids apply grade level standards through language arts, math, and science, and solve real-world problems that will benefit not only themselves but their community around them.
So we're using these robots and we're making like a course, and then we're trying to get it through it.
We're creating our own video game on this. So we have these blocks. So we created our own little game that we can scan on this tablet to play on a tablet.
So within our maker spaces, the students start off by reading a picture book, then they do research that's related. So for example, at our robotics and coding station, students will read a picture book like make a new robot. They'll go out and they'll research different types of robots and programming, design and build and program a robot that will help them in their 21st century skills as they become an adult.
Just a quick glimpse at what a makerspace can be. The key is that they're very personalized. Not all makerspaces look alike. For our library and media in kindergarten through 3rd grade, our curriculum updates focused on research and literacy skills, which were identified goals in the internal and external review. The curriculum writers were able to add the most updated library standards as they are now available. A new coding and problem-solving unit was developed for each grade level to help students understand that people create the programs and apps that allow devices to function. Within each unit, students perform problem-solving challenges that develop planning, resilience, and logical thinking skills. Connections were made to selected New Jersey student learning standards for English language arts for each grade level, as well as interdisciplinary connections ranging from technology, science, social studies, mathematics, and the arts. And I'd like to end with a video that, to me, summarizes why we're all here, why we do the work we do for our students.
Imagine the awesomest thing you can, like an automatic grilled cheese maker, or a time machine, or a time machine with an automatic grilled cheese maker. Now imagine who's going to invent it. Him? Glasses here? Whoever they are? Or maybe her? But how do kids like these become the types of people that do things like this? Maybe we should ask this guy.
Knowledge is heavy. Sometimes it's a limit to have new ideas. That's the problem with the old schooling, because they were teaching answers. I believe questions are probably more important today than the answers.
Erno's cube is a question waiting to be answered. And when the right person finds the right question, something amazing happens. They start seeing the world as it truly is. Not a place to be memorized, but a place to be figured out, flipped, turned, twisted, and ultimately made better, forever. Today, she may be an octopus, but help kids like her fall in love with problem solving, and they will embark on journeys to become scientists, artists, engineers, designers, inventors, or something no one's ever been before, but you can bet we're gonna need. That's why moments like this, go, and this, and this, and especially this, are so important. Because there are companies to found, planets to walk on, time machines to invent, a future to be made amazing. We may not know what it's going to look like, but we know who's going to do it.
So I just want to thank you, because this curriculum, the professional development, it's all possible because of the support of the board. So thank you for letting us share the curriculum review tonight. Appreciated your time.
Thank you, Dr. Nathan. Does anybody have any questions?
I just want to thank you for doing this presentation and for explaining why the changes were made and what the purpose of it was. And I think it was very interesting to read all the changes and see what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you very much. That brings us to our first opportunity for public comment. The board invites thoughts and reactions on agenda items and items of concern from members of the community who are present. Each participant is asked to give his or her name and address prior to making a statement, which will be limited to 3 minutes. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer, and this public comment period shall be limited to 60 minutes.
Good evening, Ms. Keish and the board.
And could you give us your name and address, please?
My name is Margarita Sorensen. I live at 22234 Heather Drive, Princeton Junction, New Jersey, 08550. I listened to improvements of buildings and curriculum tonight, but we also need to improve the care of the students themselves. My son Noah is 9 years old and he has type 1 diabetes. He's a student in the district. Since I only have 3 minutes, I'll give you a few examples, and I have a handout for you that you can look at later. Last summer Noah was in a camp hosted by the district when his blood sugar went low and he had something to eat in the classroom. He then walked to the nurse's office to get insulin. there was no nurse on site. He then returned to the classroom and administered insulin to himself at the correct dose. The nurse wrote me a text message, which is in the handout, stating that she had left for another school and she wasn't there when Noah came looking for him. I was concerned because by law you have to always have a person trained in insulin administration. So I wrote an email to Dr. Lee McDonald, Director of Health and Wellness. In his response, he lied about what happened. And you see this in here. He said the nurse did not leave. He was not at the site. He corroborates other facts that he likes, but he lies to cover up for the school's failure. Then he attacks my son, stating that he violated school policy. He jeopardized the health and well-being of other students by administering the insulin that he needs to survive. And the administration is time-dependent. Finally, he said that I should no longer be allowed to communicate with anybody on the site. All my communications should go through him or Ms. Shannon Martin, neither of whom cares directly for my son. This is extremely unusual and this is not reasonable accommodations under the law. Just as last week, I was in Philadelphia when I received a message from Ms. Shannon Martin stating, we have no nurse in EDP this afternoon. I responded, well, what's your plan for insulin administration? And the response was, we have instructed Marissa to call EMS. That's a plan for administering routine medication to my son. Call EMS. And I don't know who's picking up the bill, by the way, but that's entirely inappropriate and irresponsible, and I told the school so. So I came early and to pick up Noah. He was already high and needed insulin. I asked Marissa, did you call 911? She looked at me quizzically and said, no, they never told me to call 911. They told me to call you. So the school again lied to me in writing to cover up the fact that they had no plan. This has been going on for over a year. There's an OCR investigation going on, and there's a whole lot more going on here. Recently, I have noticed that the school attempts to retaliate against our family, instituting new rules, not just the communication rule, which Noah's endocrinologist wrote a letter explaining why that was highly
Dr. Sorensen, I need you to
inappropriate.
finish up, please. Thank you.
I will. With that, you can see the rest in my handout. I just made copies for the members of the school board.
You can give it to our board attorney.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
Please take some action about this.
Hello, my name is Ying Chao Wai Zizhang, 3 Funded Lane, West Windsor. As all of you know, that I'm a liaison from the Township Council, but I have another role you may or may not know. Through that role, I got some observation of our high school students' involvement in the township, and I want to give them some compliment. So my other role was a environmental commission liaison, for which I attended all their meetings, typically once or twice a month. So over the summer, I started observing a group of students who got involved in one of the initiatives by the commission, which is the to propose some sort of ordinance for the township to ban a one-time usage plastic bag. And I observed them got very interactive with the process, working with the commissioners individually and also as a group. And they also got involved in their own research and presentation to the commission and to the public. And until last night, when we have the township council meeting, a group of them also presented their recommendation. So I was looking at the critical thinking piece, the communication, the collaboration. I thought they kind of demonstrated all these capabilities as a high school students. I just want to give them a compliment. And obviously, they are quote-unquote a product of the district, so for which obviously there's a collaboration among many parties, including the wonderful teachers and staff, and also the community support from the parents. And so I just want to say that. I think regardless of the issue, you may support the single plastic ban or not, but I think they take it with passion and with their own independent research and come up with their own conclusion and make recommendation, and that is impressive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Joanne Lasky, Hunt Court, West Windsor. I came to you guys sometime, I couldn't find it in my notes, sometime between May and July, asking for some greater explanation on the changes that are being made to Grover's Mill Road and or parking at Community or the entire campus area of North Community and Millstone. I came asking because Community Middle School PTSA, for which I'm still serving as a co-president this year, had put together a group of parents who were concerned. Over the years, voices had been concerned, parents had been concerned about the safety of driving and parking, or pulling out of parking in those facilities. And so we convened a group and we provided the board our notes, and I'm still curious for an update on specifics as the school year has begun. Parents have continued to be curious of what potential changes are being made as part of the construction. And further, in addition to the construction, what corrections or adjustments could be made to general safety. So I'm curious for an update. I know we did speak about possibly attending a meeting at Community, but it's also North, and we have student or teenage drivers, people driving through town who aren't aware of our school district. And as we get closer to starting this project, I felt that it was important to get some clarification on where we're going with those adjustments and changes, and making sure that the voices of the people who are driving it daily are also being considered, because it's actually a fairly complex situation, and driving through it every once in a while doesn't actually lend itself to truly understanding the nuance that comes with navigating that space between the hours of, what is it, mostly 7:15 and 7:50, and then again 8:30 to 8:55. It is very just specific, the challenge. And so it's not just being aware of the space at other times of the day or other days of the week. So I'm looking for some clarification on that, and if we could get that information, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Well, that'll close the first opportunity for public comment, and now we'll move on to our committee reports. We'll begin with administration and facilities.
The Administration and Facilities Committee met on September 10th. We began with the discussion on policy and regulation 5111, eligibility of resident and non-resident students. The committee made some revisions based on recommendations from board members, and recommends that the policy that's here for approval. 5111. Yeah. Didn't I say it? I said 5111. No. No, sorry. Anyway, we recommend that it be approved. It's on the agenda for the second reading. Mr. Duthie then met with the committee and discussed some of the construction which he presented on today, but I'm going to read it anyway, so if you want to get a coffee while I'm talking or check your emails, that's fine. He discussed the new parking lot at Community Middle School, and I'm sure there'll be presentations as we have full plans for it. She gave us a rendering with changed pickup, drop-off areas, and changes to the athletic fields. And based on the proposed amendments, the timeline for completion would be adjusted, which is what he presented today. Then we went through some referendum updates. The fire alarm projects at Town Center and Hawk are complete. Phase 2, including Community, High School South, Wyckoff, will be coordinated with the new construction of those buildings. and Phase 3, which is Dutch Neck and Millstone River. Phase 3 will include Dutch Neck and Millstone River, and that work will begin in the summer of 2020. As he said before, the new emergency generators for Grover, Millstone, and Community have been approved and are awaiting delivery dates. The contractor started interior work and concrete pads at all 10 schools, and Phase 2, which includes South, will be coordinated with the new construction at South in 2021. Construction documents for the HVAC upgrades at High School North, Millstone, and Wyckoff are underway. And project bidding will begin in September 2019, which is now. Survey work for the renovations, including security vestibules, toilet rooms, faculty rooms, and front entrances is underway at Dutch Neck, Wyckoff, Grover, and Village. And the survey work for the media center renovations will begin over the summer. Also, for the summer construction projects, he provided the committee with an update. Again, at Town Center and Hawk, they continue to be making progress. The Town Center remains on schedule for completion in December. And as Dr. Adholt said at the beginning, Hawk's renovation work is proceeding, and we're expecting to be completed in December if this latest thing with the masonry doesn't change any of that. We then discussed the equity update, and Mr. Earl provided an update on the equity practices throughout the district. The building administrators engaged their faculty and staff in equity activities during the first 2 days of school. The district equity team will continue working with Dr. Eddie Fergus during the school year, including 5 new training sessions. The equity planning team will resume meeting to plan the implementation of equity activities for the semester. Concerning security, the testing of the new safety and security features are complete, and all the building administrators have been trained on how to use the new technology and have had the opportunity to practice with the faculty during the first 2 professional development days. And the system is operational for the 2019-2020 school year. The Plainsboro Police Department screened, interviewed, and selected an officer who has been approved and will start late September at Wyckoff Elementary School. The West Windsor Police Department selected an officer who has been approved to start in early October at Village. And screening, interviewing continue for Eyes on the Door and Class 3 officers, and all current officers were trained on September 4th. We also reviewed the Send Hunger Packing 2019-2020 Memorandum of Understanding, and the committee recommends the MOU for approval at this meeting. Our next meeting is scheduled for October 15th. Any questions?
Okay, I'll turn it over to the curriculum committee.
Okay. Got to bear with me because I have a lot of, this may take as long as the committee meeting took. Okay, we met on September 10th, and first we reviewed the implementation of the district's online financial literacy course that happened this summer. A review showed that a majority of the students who took the course were successful. Additionally, the district offers several options for students to access and master financial literacy during standards during the school year. Next, we reviewed the revised curricula for all the courses that Dr. Nathan spoke about: math, kindergarten math, math 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and math 7 honors, pre-algebra H&A, algebra 1 H&A, advanced algebra 2, pre-calculus honors, AP statistics, consumer math 1, 2, 3, middle school math, MD and MD autism, community-based instruction for middle school and high school, AP US history, science for kindergarten through 5th grade, accounting, digital communication, senior internship and practicum, culinary arts, international foods, job skills A and B, media center for kindergarten through 3rd grade. These curricula were posted on the Board of Education workspace for all board members prior to the last week's committee meetings. The committee saw a presentation on the new and revised curriculum, which was to be presented tonight at the board meeting, which it was. Areas highlighted in the presentation were revisions based on strategic goals, changes to state standards and mandates, new curriculum, and alignment with college boards, as well as the new library standards. The committee recommends approval of all these curriculum documents. Next, the committee recommends approval for several professional development workshops and travel as follows. Entering into a contract with Flemington Raritan Regional School District to provide 2019-2020 reading recovery professional development and technical support for 10 reading recovery teachers at a cost of about $9,000 plus mileage. And then enter into agreement with Flemington Raritan Regional School District to provide 2019-2020 reading recovery professional development for one new reading recovery teacher at a cost of a little over $15,000, a portion of which will be paid directly to Lesley University. 4 district administrators will participate in the 2019 Chinese Bridge delegation to China in partnership with the College Board and the Confucius Institute headquarters in Hainan, China, from October 20th through the 29th at a cost not to exceed $1,500 per person, partially funded by the WWPAA contractual monies. Next, we reviewed the community education after-school programs, and the committee recommends approval of these winter after-school enrichment programs. As part of the ongoing media center collection management, the committee recommends approval of the disposal of obsolete items in accordance with Regulation 7300.1 as follows: 979 books from Maurice Hawk Media Center, 674 books from High School South Media Center, 1,526 books from Millstone River Media Center. In addition, there are, 5 different musical instruments that are being recommended for disposal. They're all from Village School. It is 3 cellos and two basses. And all of these items, the books and the instruments, meet one or more of the criteria of either being so worn and or damaged as to preclude effective use and economical repair or restoration, and or no longer serve as worthy instructional tools. The committee requested additional documentation on the number of books and digital resources that were purchased over the past several years to ensure that students continue to have reading and research materials. So since our committee meeting last week, Dr. Nathan provided the committee with the number of items purchased as follows, and I'm going to just sort of quote from an email that she sent to our committee since our meeting. So since 2014, from Follett alone, which is one of the 3 media center purchasing sources, 16,785 books have been purchased. This number does not include the other 2 sources, which is Demco and Bound to Stay Bound, to take into account classroom libraries, which are stocked with books, or does not take into account classroom libraries, which are stocked with books from building and district purchases. In addition, our reading and writing units of study include book sets, and as a district, we purchase additional titles to ensure diversity in our collections. The PTAs from all the different schools, from book fair proceeds, donate funds for the purchase of books each year to schools. Special services add adaptive selections. Author book sales and students who replace lost or damaged books are also replenishment sources. In addition, over the last few years, access to databases for students has significantly grown. These are great resources for informational material and are often chosen over reference books as they are the most current and are what they call bottomless, as the digital platforms hold thousands of periodicals, journals, articles, and other information. For example, JSTOR, which is a tool which contains over 2,000 professional journals and includes books and other primary source documents which are updated continuously. Online subscription use with validated sources is extensive, and were included in the Media Center program review, which was reviewed and approved by this board, I think last year, and include. There's like about 7 or 8 different things. The ABC CLIO, Brain Pop, Britannica, CQ Researcher, EBSCO, Infobase, JSTOR, as I mentioned, and NetTrekker, and ProQuest historical newspapers. All of these have large numbers of subscriptions that are documents that can be accessed. Also from the program review, we were reminded of some data that was collected about the circulation rate and age of the district media center's collection. Students circulate on average about 6% of each high school collection annually. And the high school collections are dated with an average age of from 1992. The average age of a book for the entire district is 1997. High school students are not using materials like they used to. They are using the digital resources. With this context and in light of outdated, worn, damaged, and/or discriminatory materials, weeding is really an essential component of our media center program. And it is an important part of maintaining the health of a collection, as was shared in the article that appeared in the Library Journal. This was a trade publication for libraries, and this article was also included in the Media Center program review last year and was shared and discussed during last month's Curriculum Committee meeting when the WWP Supervisor for Media Specialists and Technology, Alan Johnson, joined us and to have an in-depth conversation about the philosophy behind library collection management. The district purchases books to replace under-circulated, outdated, or damaged materials at all levels. This is important as reading interests of students change, and the district is working to create flexible, collaborative, and creative spaces, like the ones we just saw in Dr. Nathan's presentation, to meet the needs of all WWP students. And then finally, our last topic was the committee recommended to approve an overnight field trip for High School South for future problem solving to the University of Massachusetts in Amherst in June 2020, and the cost is approximately $800 per student, and we will next meet on October 15th. So thank you for listening to that long presentation.
Are there any questions about curriculum? All right, turn it over to the Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee also met on September 10th. The committee reviewed the monthly financial reports, and they also discussed the agenda items, including the Princeton Theological Seminary's payment in lieu of property taxes, the disposal of obsolete items, change orders for the Hawk project, and a change order to increase the size of generators at Village and Millstone. The committee supports the agenda items. Staff also presented the corrective action plan for the collaborative monitoring report. As you may recall, this corrective action plan is required by the New Jersey Department of Education to address inconsistencies in Title I procedures that were identified by a state audit. Staff is being retrained as needed, and procedural issues are being corrected. The auditors are completing the financial audit, but no results have yet been shared with the administration. The district's architect and engineer, along with transportation specialist, presented an update on referendum work, including the results of the recent traffic study in front of CMS. I am not going to repeat that for the third time tonight, because I know we all heard it twice already, so we'll just move right along. Oh, thank you. Okay, staff reported that the power purchase agreement, which is for the solar panel project, has been sent to the attorney for review and negotiation with the provider. Work on the investment grade audit for the Energy Savings Improvement Plan continues. On September 24th, the preliminary report will be presented to administration. A third-party reviewer of the plan needs to be procured to continue the process once the plan is delivered. The committee discussed the cafeteria operations. Staff provided handouts giving an overview of the opening of the school and sample menus. There were several recipes provided by students that are being served this year. Sodexo has been experiencing some staff turnover. There have been changes to the serving lines in the high schools, and they are trying to have better communications with students regarding the cafeteria operation. The committee also discussed some sustainability measures in the cafeteria operation. For transportation, staff provided an update regarding the first few days of school for transportation. Busing went well overall, but there were some issues. There have also been some requests by community members for buses to go to locations that are not allowed by policy. The committee will next meet on October 15th.
Thank you. Are there any questions about finance? Okay, then we move on now to the voting portion of our agenda. We'll start with the administration items. Could I please get a motion on administration items 1 to 10, plus the blue addendum? Tony and Martin. Are there any questions on the administration items or comments?
We'll start with Mr. Cheng. Mr. Flores.
Yes.
Ms. Hertz. Ms. Ho.
Yes.
Ms. Krug.
Yes on everything except I'm going to abstain on this, the blue.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes. Okay, on blue. Mr. Whitfield.
Yes.
Mr. Zhang.
Yes.
Ms. Juliana.
Yes.
Ms. Case.
Yes. Next, could I please get a motion on the curriculum items 1 to 7? Dana and Carol. Are there any questions on curriculum?
I have a question. I wanted to know, in the elementary math curriculums, what does it mean when it says I/D/M?
So our curriculum is a continuum of skills and standards. So there's introduced, developing, and mastered. Students aren't always expected to master the first time material's introduced, and it often will be cycled throughout the school years.
Thank you. My other question was in the first grade science, which is all about tracking the sun and the moon, are first graders taught that they should not look directly at the sun?
So the standards are written so that observation is key. Of course, our students' safety is always a priority. So the standard is actually referring to the moon, the stars, the sun, and in relation to Earth's motion. So absolutely, we use other sources than observation when it comes to the sun. Their safety is always our priority.
Great, thank you. I also have a question about reading recovery. I've been saying this for a long time. I've done a lot of research on this, and there's actually no study proving that reading recovery actually works. They've done study after study of this, and they just can't prove it. And it is not supported by science. Thank you.
And I'm happy to share, the more context we can provide around the programs that we utilize, especially interventions, the more understanding we can build. We believe that there is no one-size-fits-all, and therefore we have multiple approaches, including the intervention of reading recovery, to ensure that all our students' needs are met.
Anyone else?
Okay, we'll start with Mr. Flores.
Yes.
Ms. Hertz.
I'm voting yes, but I'm voting no on 2 and 3.
2 and 3. Okay. And next is Ms. Ho.
Yes.
Ms. Krug.
Yes.
Mr. Whitfield.
Yes.
Mr. Zhang.
Yes.
Mr. Cheng.
Yes.
Ms. Juliana.
Yes.
Ms. Case.
Yes. Next, we have some bunch of finance items. We're going to have to call something separately. I'll get to that in a minute. So I'm going to first just need a motion on items 1 to 10 and 12 to 21. Rachel and Taylor. Are there any questions?
Okay, we'll start with Ms. Hertz.
Yes.
Ms. Ho.
Yes.
Ms. Krug.
Yes.
Mr. Whitfield.
Yes.
Mr. Zhang.
Yes.
Mr. Cheng.
Yes.
Mr. Flores.
Yes.
Ms. Juliana.
Yes.
Ms. Case.
Yes.
Okay.
So that brings us to item number 11. Annually, New Jersey School Boards holds a workshop that school board members are able to attend. What we're not able to do is vote to allow ourselves to attend. So I'm going to call, I need a motion on 11A, which is to send 3 board members from West Windsor to the workshop. Tony and Isaac?
Okay, we'll start with Ms. Ho.
I abstain.
Ms. Krug.
Abstain.
Mr. Whitfield.
Yes.
Mr. Zhang.
Yes.
Mr. Cheng.
Yes.
Mr. Flores.
Yes.
Ms. Hertz.
Yes.
Ms. Juliana.
Yes.
Ms. Case.
Abstain. Now I need a motion on finance number 11B, which will allow one Plainsboro member to attend the workshop. Morton and Taylor?
Okay, we'll start with Ms. Krug.
Yes.
Mr. Whitfield.
Yes.
Mr. Zhang.
Yes.
Mr. Cheng.
Yes.
Mr. Flores.
Abstain.
Ms. Hertz.
Yes.
Ms. Ho.
Yes.
Ms. Juliana.
Yes.
Ms. Case.
Yes. Can I please get a motion on personnel item 1? And we have a green, yellow, pink, purple.
I'm sorry, I have a question.
I know.
Did we already vote on 12? Is that part of the first?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is part of the first.
I actually have a question on that one.
Oh.
I misunderstood that.
Okay?
So, under 12, is any of the money going directly to the Confucius Institute?
No.
No, okay.
Just to clarify that for the good of the whole, the 4 administrators have been accepted. The College Board and Hanban, the Confucius Institute, covers all costs in country. It's the travel to and from. That's the responsibility of the administrator, and that's all covered within their allotment allowed under contract.
Okay, good. So personnel, item 1 plus the rainbow, green, yellow, pink, purple, and orange. Can I get a motion on that, please? Dana and Martin. Before we move forward, I wanted to turn it over to the chair of our negotiating team, who is going to talk to you about the purple addendum.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Michelle. Hi, I'm Rachel Juliana, and I'm pleased to announce that the West Windsor Plainsboro Regional School District Board of Education has reached an agreement for a successor collective negotiations agreement with the West Windsor Plainsboro Administrators Association. The agreement covers 5 years, the 2019-20 school year through the 2023-2024 school year. The WWPAA is the association that represents our supervisors, directors, principals, and assistant principals. The new contract will be voted on by the board tonight. The WWPAA membership ratified the terms of the new agreement on September 5th, 2019. The terms provide for a 2.9% salary increase for the 2020-2021 and 2021-2022 school year, a 2.8% increase for the 2022-2023 school year, and a 2.7% increase for the 2023-2024 school year. A 2.75 increase for 2019 to 2020 was previously agreed to as part of the previous collective negotiations agreement between the parties and remains unchanged. The agreement moderately reduces the administrator's copays for certain prescriptions, bringing them in line with the copays for our teaching staff. The long-term agreement contains various health insurance cost containment, including locking in the current employee health insurance contribution rates, which are a critical component of our budget. It also cements reductions in other health insurance costs, including a move of the membership to a less costly medical insurance plan. I recommend that the board vote to ratify the agreement. It makes our district stronger by maintaining our competitive administrative compensation while simultaneously containing our health insurance costs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll start with Mr. Whitfield.
Yes.
Mr. Zhang.
Yes.
Mr. Cheng.
Yes.
Mr. Flores.
Yes.
Ms. Hertz.
Yes.
Ms. Ho.
Yes.
Ms. Krug.
Yes.
Ms. Juliana.
Yes.
Ms. Case.
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from August 27th? Tony, and Morton. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed or abstentions? Do we have any liaison reports? Is there any new business? That brings us to our second opportunity for public comment. 15 minutes will be provided at the end of our meeting for public comment. Each participant is asked to give his or her name and address prior to making a statement, which will be limited to 3 minutes. All statements should be directed to the presiding officer. Any public comment? All right, seeing as there's none, I'm just going to turn it over to the superintendent for comment.
Just one item to follow up on with respect to the traffic study in CMS. What might not be understood by the presentation of the architect is that the recommendations within the traffic study have already been incorporated into the new plan. So you would have seen a picture, if we were looking straight on at CMS currently, and you saw a parking lot to the left. The parking lot on the left doubles the size of the existing parking lot. The current lacrosse/field hockey field on the left becomes a parking lot. That was only done after the fields were analyzed by a civil engineer who was able to assess that with some moderate work done to the back of the field to address some drainage concerns on the backside of the field closest to the wood line, as well as a dip in land between CMS and Millstone River. 2 additional fields can be created out of that space. So we'll go from 2 full soccer fields essentially to 4 soccer fields, lacrosse fields worth of size. There was the discussion or a picture of a 5th field with a TBD. The TBD is because depending upon the amount of site excavation and the approval process, there is a significant drop on the backside of that field at Millstone River. There is a potential of some leveling and increasing the height of that field, as well as there's a huge dip in the back part of that field that's really difficult to see by just standing in the parking lot of Millstone River and looking back. So there would be site work. 2 reasons for site work to stay on grounds. One, moving tons of debris. And when I say debris, just debris, dirt essentially, removal structurally, the architectural engineer term, structurally sound dirt. There needs to be some replacement. A new bed needs to be placed down. There is code requirements that change. The current parking lot at CMS only has about 6 inches of base. It's one of the reasons why if you look at a parking lot, I see a lot of cracking in the parking lot. A lot of times it's because the base underneath it is not structurally solid, and as a result of drainage and cracking and settling, you see the cracking. So the whole parking lot itself needs to be taken up and done. There's also site work in the front of the building, and this gets to the traffic study component. The traffic study showed that there was concerns with the drop-off. So if you're at CMS right now and you pull in, the main entrance is halfway through the queuing. So because of that, there's not enough space for cars, and you lose about half of the main entrance of parking. And then you have all the parking spots for visitors and administrators. So that creates a natural backlog out onto the road. So they recommended a significant increase in the size of the queuing and changing the structural location. So from the original architectural plans that were put forth to the board and the administration to the current, the entire main entrance has been reworked as a result of the traffic study. It also changes the exit and entrance on the left-hand side of the building to align with the entrance and exit for High School North. Now, one might say, well, that would cause conflict, but what it also does is it places in line the future of a potential light. And you can't even attempt to have a light if you don't have the driveways lined up. So that was a direct result of the traffic study. All the feedback given from the CMS community was provided to the traffic engineers to be incorporated within their consideration. Dynamic traffic, as well as our civil engineer, as well as our architect, came out to the last administration facilities and finance agendas committees and presented. You heard both committees report on that this evening. From a practical standpoint, what needs to be understood by the community and as well as by the board, there's several $1 million increase in costs above and beyond what's in the referendum by doing the additional queuing at CMS in the front, as well as the additional parking lot, as well as the field work. None of that was incorporated in the original referendum. Due to ROD grants being reimbursed over time, coming back to the capital reserves, we believe we have the fiscal capacity to do the work. But ultimately, the board will have to decide to do the additional work above and beyond the referendum. So not only does a traffic study come with it, just a logistical safety related, but it does also bring an additional cost burden to the community that needs to be considered as we go forward. At this point, the authorization has been to continue moving forward with the plans because we do believe picking up the additional 100 or so parking spots is of critical nature with the expansion of staff expected at both CMS and Millstone River. Adding the staff without adding parking is already problematic, and we believe that by picking up the field space, it also is worthwhile, and that we already have some difficulty with the field on the left as is now. For instance, if you're a parent trying to view field hockey, you're staying in a parking lot because there is no viewing section. So it's already a very difficult field as is, and not well utilized. So next steps, we have already reached out to Plainsboro Township staff, professional staff, asking for their feedback on the current plans as is. And with respect to community, with Dr. Carter and with the PTSA leadership, I'm happy to always arrange a meeting and presentation to CMS. I have presentations at GMS and Hawk already scheduled since last spring, so I'm happy to arrange something with CMS and their PTSA in order to get the architect over there and talk about the current updates. This plan is moving very fast at this point, so that should be scheduled sooner than later. Thank you.
If I can jump in real quick, realize it's an increase in scope. The projects were in the referendum. I just want to make sure someone doesn't think we're going off the rails. So they were within the referendum. They're just larger and better than originally proposed. I just want to
Which will
clarify.
require additional dollars. But that, which is my point.
Thank you. As I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, we need to return to closed session, and to do that, I need to read the following statement. Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act authorizes boards of education to meet in executive session under certain circumstances, and whereas the Open Public Meetings Act requires the board to adopt a resolution at a public meeting to go into private session, now therefore be it resolved by the West Windsor Plainsboro Regional School District Board of Education that it is necessary to meet in executive session to discuss certain items involving, I don't remember what the outstanding issues are.
Madam President, it's anticipated litigation and matters involving purchase of real property and or investment of public funds.
Negotiations with WWP.
And negotiations.
So be it further resolved that any discussion held by the board which need not remain confidential will be made public as soon as feasible. The minutes of the executive session will not be disclosed until the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Be it further resolved that the board will not return to open session to conduct business at the conclusion of the executive session. Can I get a motion to go into executive session? Isaac and Carol? All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Thanks for coming out. We'll see you next time.